Swan Lake by Olinka Bell. Charlotte lived with her father and brother James in the Loch keeper's cottage beside the broad water. It was a cold morning and the curtains blew in the draught from the cracked window pane. The cottage was damp and so silent you could hear the wallpaper slowly peeling. A living room with 3 chairs and a broken radio, and a kitchen with hardly enough food to keep the 3 of them alive. In the attic, James and Charlotte shared a bed and their dad slept on a mattress on the floor. It was a cold winter day, but Charlotte was eager to get outside. She went downstairs to look out the window. "It's snowing," she exclaimed. Frost decorated the window pane, and the ground below was covered in a thick layer of snow. There were fox footprints, and robins chirped. Charlotte's mother had died 7 years ago after giving birth to James. Her dad was the lock keeper and did odd jobs around Achillee trying to earn money for his family. This meant she looked after her brother even though she was just 12. She had long black hair which was brushed every morning. She was very proud of her family. It may not have been perfect, but everyone loved each other no matter what. As her brother was still sleeping, she pulled on her father's winter coat and slipped into her clogs. She sighed, wishing she had a hat and a scarf, and set off along the icy path singing her favourite song, struggling through the thick snow. All of a sudden, she saw a wedge of the most beautiful swans, so white they were camouflaged by the snow. There were 3 adult swans and 2 cygnets. She noticed that they seemed very flustered, wings flapping everywhere. She looked closer and saw there was a baby swan trapped under the ice. Without thinking, she got up and tiptoed across the frozen lake. She banged the ice with her wooden clog. It broke, and she plunged her hands into the water. She reached for the swan and pulled it out. It was shivering, so she wrapped it up in her coat. Phew! She panted and started to make her way back. All of a sudden, splash! Her heart pounded. She felt the freezing water hit her skin and slowly falling down deeper. She thought about James and her father sleeping in the cottage, but then felt something underneath her, thinking it was the bottom. But no, it was soft, and she was being pushed back out of the ice. Opening her eyes, still underwater, she saw 3 bundles of feathers. The swans put all their strength into bringing her back up. Her body rose out of the water, and she felt the sun on her face, scrambling onto the surface of the ice. She felt weak, but couldn't help a smile at the swans. They dipped their long necks as if they were saying, "Thank you." The Creature of Loch Ness by Brandon Ferris. We all had waited for a day like this one, to go out into the large Loch Ness on our new shiny jet skis, gifted to us just a few months ago on our birthdays. At around 1:30 p.m. we met on the Loch's southern shore to fuel our jet skis and get something to eat before heading out into the centre of the Loch. "Hey Alan, I'm going to destroy you in a race once we're out there," Tony screeched in excitement. I was jumping up and down ecstatically while I answered, "No, you are not. I cannot wait to see your face once I speed past you." Once we got out into the Loch, the salty wind was blowing our hair back as we were doing all kinds of tricks and stunts. Until it had happened. A little further from us this time, but only a few seconds after the boat had sunk, a tail flew out of the water, but this was not any ordinary tail. It was blue and purple. It was ginormous. It must have been at least the size of a car, and it had bony spikes protruding all up it with fins attached to it on each end. I tried to brush it over my shoulder and continue having fun, but then it was below us. A humongous shadow of a crocodilian-like creature. I told Tony and Ryan to look without hesitation. "What is that thing?" Tony yelped in fear, but Ryan did not react. He just stared blankly. We had decided to head back to shore after seeing this. We made it 10 yards ahead, but then tragedy struck as our jet skis had run out of fuel. "What are we meant to do now?" I shouted at Tony and Ryan. "I don't know. I've never been in a situation like this," Tony yelled back at me. "We either sit here and be bait or we swim back to shore," Ryan mumbled. I aggressively responded, "Well, I'd rather sit here than be in the water with that thing." Tony looked at me and Ryan dead in the eyes and said, "Well, good luck with that. I'm getting back to shore before the sun sets." And immediately after, he dived off the jet ski into the deep, dark water. All I heard was the splashes as he swam closer to the shore. Then he stopped and turned around and yelled at us at the top of his lungs. "The upside-down boat from earlier is still there." Without a thought, we shouted back, "Tip it over and paddle it over to us." We all had a feeling of hope in that moment. Then the unthinkable happened. The creature lunged out of the water and dragged Tony to the bottom of the loch. Its head was like a crocodile's, but had thousands more teeth and fangs, its eyes a deathly red colour, and then it was gone. Not All Is Lost by Jack Gilliland. It was 2nd of March 1912. The Titanic was nearly complete. It was a blustery morning, but that didn't stop the workers. You could hear the waves crash against the dock walls. The wind, so strong, it wiped the hats off a row of workers with one foul gust of air, almost to the other side of the dock. We were riveting, and we thought because of the furiousness of the waves, they would take the Titanic with it. I wasn't paying attention, busy at my work and almost in a trance. It could almost be heard, falling down from above like a comet. The molting hot rivet came loose and fell at an extreme speed, headed towards the bottom decks. I heard one of the new guys holler from above, "Look out below!" I looked up and saw it falling, as though in slow motion, and it, whatever it was heading straight for me. I tried with all my skill to snatch it from the air, to see if anyone who was directly below me. My efforts proved useless. The bolt burned straight through my finger like carving warm butter with a knife. I was in agony. I was rushed to hospital to see if by some miracle my finger could be salvaged and I would live to build another day. But that tragic news hit hard and my body filled with numbness. "Sorry," a large doctor softly spoke, rather apologetically. "I'm afraid you won't be able to use that hand the same again." I was devastated. The blood had almost all drained from my face. The rest of the words after the initial shocking statement were muffled, and then everything went blurry. At this moment, I'm at Browns Bay, Bangor, playing with my grandchildren and telling the story For the 100th time, I'm watching the waves accelerate across the beach. It is mesmerizing. I hear the squawking of the seagulls and the salty taste of the sea. Reminiscing this memory, all may appear lost, but with time, all wounds heal, and what appears to be broken always has ways to be mended.